Yuchu. Shen Yuchu walked toward him. Have you been waiting long? Chenze naturally put his arm around her shoulder and said, no. I just arrived too. Shen Yuchu's body stiffened noticeably for a moment, but in the blink of an eye she recovered. The two of them walked into the French restaurant on the third floor of the Huaxia International Hotel. Chenze gentlemanly pulled out the chair for Shen Yuchu and ordered a few dishes that she liked. Thinking about it, I found myself ridiculous. Shen Yuchu had never served a dish to my plate. Every time I eagerly served food for her and looked at her with expectant eyes, she would always say coldly, don't you have self-esteem? Can you just save your energy? Chenze seemed to be in a very good mood, with a smile constantly on his face. Exquisite dishes were served one by one. Chenze maintained his due grace, occasionally placing some food onto her plate. Shen Yuchu raised her eyes to look closely at him and asked with concern, is your health any better? Looking at it this way, she actually knows how to care about someone. It's just that the person she cares about isn't me. Chenze continued cutting the steak in front of him and said, much better. It's just an old stomach issue. As long as I eat on time, it won't flare up. I remember when we were studying, you didn't have stomach problems. Chenze's movements paused for a second. Meeting her gaze, he said, back then I was taken care of so well by you. How could I have a chance to get sick? Shen Yuchu's face darkened. Did she not take good care of you? Chenze put down his knife and fork, his brow furrowing slightly. Wang Lin took possession of you for 5 years, and I also forced myself to stay by someone else's side for 5 years. But we both know that feelings cannot be forced. We deeply love each other. If Wang Lin hadn't intervened, we would have been together 5 years ago. Yeah, everything was my fault. Now I have finally left to fulfill your wishes. Shen Yuchu seemed to recall 5 years ago and all the unbearable things she had suffered. Her expression grew a bit more guilt-ridden. I am the one who is sorry to you. Chenze stood up, walked over to her side, bent down and said, no, you did nothing wrong. It was Wang Lin and his family who used their power to coerce us. Back then we had no power or influence, so we couldn't resist. He looked into her eyes, and his gaze finally landed on her red lips. He slowly pressed himself down. In a flash, Shen Yuchu turned her head away almost subconsciously, dodging his kiss. I was very curious about what she was thinking at that moment, and why she would have such a reaction. Could it be that she actually cared about me? I used to tell her, Shen Yuchu, after we get married, stay away from other men. They all have impure motives towards you. Only I truly and sincerely love you. I shook my head, feeling like I was just deceiving myself. How could she possibly care about what I said? Chenze's face stiffened. He stood up straight. It was my offense. I actually forgot that you are a married person. We are divorced. When saying these words, Shen Yuchu subconsciously touched a certain spot on her left ring finger. The ring she had worn for 5 years was no longer there, but the indentation left by wearing it for a long time remained. A shocked expression appeared on Chenze's face. Really? You guys got a divorce? But I noticed the instant the corner of his mouth curled up. Shen Yuchu stood up, pulled him back to sit in his original seat, and said softly, we're divorced. Chenze placed his hands over the back of her hand, smiling. That's great. Yuchu, you finally don't have to force yourself anymore. To stay by his side? He tightly held her hand. This is a good thing. We must celebrate properly. Shen Yuchu acted indifferent, saying, it's no big deal. There's no need to celebrate. Of course we have to celebrate. Chenze raised his voice and said, I have waited 5 years for this day. Yuchu, even if it's just for me. Let's have a good celebration together. Looking at the brilliant smile on his face, Shen Yuchu didn't want to disappoint him. So she followed him to the 8th floor of the Huaxia International Hotel. After finishing their meal, they went up to the 8th floor. I followed closely behind them as they went out, my body seemingly no longer under my own control. I didn't want to watch them show off their affection like this. But when we arrived on the 8th floor, they happened to run into Shen Yuchu's friends drinking with a group of men. Chenze directly pulled Shen Yuchu and went into their private room. Deafening music echoed from the private room. Chenze held Shen Yuchu by the shoulder, as if declaring his sovereignty. Her friends started teasing and cheering. Wine glasses were constantly filled up and emptied. By the end, Shen Yuchu was already too drunk to stand straight, her head feeling dazed and heavy. She narrowed her eyes to glance at her watch. Is it 12 o'clock already? I have to go home. That man Wang Lin doesn't let me come home late. He's always controlling me. So annoying. Chenze had been staying right by her side, and seemed to have heard her muttering to herself. His face darkened slightly. He wrapped his arm around her waist, coaxing her in a soft voice, Yuchu, you guys are already divorced. No one is going to restrict you anymore, so you don't need to follow any rules about not drinking or coming home early. Shen Yuchu closed her eyes and smiled. Right, we are already divorced. Yeah, we're divorced. Seeing how happy she was, I realized I had loved her for so many years, but never received even a tiny bit of love in return. Stumbling and staggering, she took a glass of wine handed over by someone, and drank it all in one gulp. A small amount of liquid trickled down the corner of her mouth, sliding all the way down to her neck. Chenze stared intently at the woman who looked incredibly alluring and captivating right now. His Adam's apple rolled involuntarily. All right. He timely blocked the drinks being offered by others. Let's call it a night. Yuchu is drunk. I'll take her to rest. After saying that, he supported Shen Yuchu and slowly walked out of the private room. Shen Yuchu followed Chenze without saying a word, walking out of the private room. Taking the elevator up